one in the meet pad, which might be hidden, but I see that someone chatted there. So let me just, I don't know if you can all see that. I just typed this one into that, which is part of Meetpad. But there's also Jitsi chat. I don't know which one is official for Meetpad. Maybe Ildiko can comment. But let's use one or the other, not both. I did a whole call where I wasn't seeing the chat box, and so it was kind of confusing when people said, "Yeah, I've just dropped a link in the chat." And I said, "I don't see that." So, should we use the Jitsi chat? Does that work?
I guess the main difference is that the chat in the Etherpad will persist for the whole lifetime of this Etherpad. So don't post something it's just for the meeting here. While the Jitsi one will just be for the meeting, and I'm not sure if when you join you see past messages.
Okay, well, all I can say is if we're using both, then people should try and find both and have them open. Otherwise, it's super confusing when people do say, "I've put something in the chat," and you don't see it. So I guess let's get going.
I think it feels more natural to use the Jitsi one because otherwise we'll see messages from like 3 months ago in the chat.
Yeah. Okay, so I put a comment there. If you, I just typed this one is the better one. We think if you see that, then that's the chat that the gentleman who just talked said is better. So let's get going then. I think Ildiko said let's have introductions. I'm your MC today. My name is Chris Morgan. I'm product owner of Bloomberg Cloud Compute, which is OpenStack-based private cloud running the majority of critical infrastructure for Bloomberg these days, including the Bloomberg Terminal, our data center products, our mobile products, our website, et cetera, and my other credentials, I suppose. I used to run the OpenStack Ops meetups, which for a while was a successful series of in-person meetings, but as I mentioned, it's become impossible to get people all together in the same place in a friendly venue with coffee and Wi-Fi and enough seating and projectors and all that stuff. So now we do this. I will try and I'll just pick an order so we don't all just have to sort of speak over each other. So Keys was first in the meeting. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh yeah, please. It's pronounced Kees, by the way.
Kees.
Well, I was actually invited by Ildiko. I'm the chair of the public cloud special interest group, and over the mailing list there was some discussion about how often people would visit a certain SIG or a certain Combi or whatever, and I'm just curious about this specific gathering. So for today, I will be just listening in. Very short, a little background though. I'm one of the founders of Nefos, which is a public Dutch OpenStack powered, obviously, compute cloud. And that's my angle towards OpenStack.
Great, thank you. Next, I'm just going in order so you can work it out. Bartos. Apologies if I don't pronounce names correctly. Bartos from Stack HPC. Would you like to introduce yourself? You're on mute if you didn't realize. Maybe he stepped away. Who knows? Next, we'll come back to Bartos if he does. Kalle?
That's excellent. Thank you. My name is Kalle Happonen. I'm from CSC in Finland. We do scientific computing and research computing. I'm product owner for OpenStacks, and I've been working with OpenStacks since something like SX. And I'll try to work. I try to be as much available in these kind of things and sync with the other operators to be sure that we know what's going on. And if we can help with anybody, I'm also happy to do that.
Great, thank you. Next is Francesco.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I work at the INFN in Italy, and we have a self-hosted cloud based on OpenStack. It's a federation of loosely coupled clouds, and I work on one of those. And I'd like to attend these meetings to, interact with other operators, have other opinions, and in general get an idea of what's going on, and if possible, help with issues.
Great, thank you. Next up is Matthias.
Yeah, hi guys, nice to meet you. Sorry for no camera on because I'm on the road. Yeah, I'm calling from Germany. It's my first call today. I'm very happy to meet you all, guys. We are operating a small public cloud service provider specialized in sovereign cloud services and relatively new to OpenStack. We're running the cloud for maybe a year now, coming from VMware and the Broadcom hell, which we all know about. And yeah, very happy to be here and
Great.
Just listening, as I said.
Yeah, well, welcome. Welcome to everyone. Just a note about being on camera. There's no pressure to be on camera. It's absolutely fine. I do it just because the person who's emceeing is sort of a focal point, but there's no need to put your camera on. You can. I like it, but don't feel the need. Don't have to apologize. Next up is Matt Skipton.
Good morning. Matt Skipton, new to OpenStack with Worldwide Technology in the United States. We are starting a migration from a current VMware vCloud environment over to OpenStack, and I've actually been working with Eric McCormick some. He suggested I join. I've been listening on these calls for a couple of months now, but just trying to gain as much knowledge as we can as we start down our journey.
Great. Thank you, Matt. Well, welcome. And next is Pierre.
Hello, everyone. I'm Pierre Ito. I'm with Stack HPC, so I'm a colleague of Bartosz. We both work with many institutions, mostly in the scientific research sector, to help run their infra, OpenStack, and other components. And so I'm just joining regularly those calls, keen to hear what problems people have and how to help them. I'm quite involved in the upstream community, particularly in the Cola project.
Great. And we didn't hear Bartosz introduce himself. Bartosz, did you want to, or we could just move on? Or maybe he stepped away from the meeting. I don't hear anything, so I guess Pierre, you can mention to him we didn't hear his introduction, but but we welcome him too. Okay, so the topics this time are pretty light. Next meeting, December 19th. Sounds good to me. I don't think I have any commitments, but by all means, +1 or -1 that if you wish to attend the next one and that particular time doesn't work. The next topic that we do have, should we get rid of RabbitMQ? So you all sound like you're OpenStack experts or getting there, but just in case, the context is OpenStack defaults to being basically driven by RabbitMQ internally, as well as MySQL. It's a message bus connecting various pieces like the scheduler. And a strong tradition at OpenStack conferences is for there to be talk saying, we broke our Rabbit and our cloud went down and we were very sad. There was literally a talk almost exactly that title, I think in one of the conferences I went to in Tokyo. The thing is that those talks sometimes suggest a different message bus. There's been talk about ZeroMQ, and there's some others. Bloomberg has its own open source message queue now called BMQ, Blazing MQ. But I will say I've never actually seen the OpenStack defaults change from being Rabbit. So the questions I have for whoever posted this is, what are the alternatives today? And what are you trying to solve by getting rid of Rabbit? Now, I'm not saying that there aren't problems. I just want to focus on what particularly you have in mind. So this is me here. I said, what are you trying to solve? We run clusters up to 1,500 machines per IP fabric with clustered Rabbit. And we have occasional problems, but it's mostly perfectly fine. We give it, dedicated machines, and it just hums away passing messages. So obviously, if your scale is substantially bigger than that, maybe you have to try much harder to make Rabbit work, or maybe you need to use something else. But that's a decent scale. And there have been times when the problems with Rabbit were, actually just it had a memory leak, so it would run for 24 hours and then crash. Well, I haven't seen that in 10 years, so maybe we can get some context on what the proposal is and why. Go ahead.
Do you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, good, perfect. I joined just late. Sorry, it's me about the RabbitMQ. Should we get rid of RabbitMQ? I wrote this sentence, so I can explain why I did that, if you want. We are struggling a lot at OVH Cloud with RabbitMQ since years, and even at small scale. We did a lot of change to enable quorum queues, to enable stream queues, but even at very small scale, RabbitMQ is failing from time to time. Like queues are not replicated correctly, queues are deleted while they shouldn't, stuff like this. So I'm wondering if there is other people that were willing to get rid of RabbitMQ at some point. I know that, for example, Line Corp I think they're in Japan, worked on enabling a new driver on Oslo messaging to use HTTP instead of RabbitMQ. It's on review right now. But maybe there is other things to test, and other things that that OpenStack or Open Infra community could try or test or move on. Not saying that we should totally get rid of it right now. I know that maybe the title of the sentence was not good, but
no, that's fine. I just wanted to.
You know what I mean? It's a pain for a lot of people since years.
That's true. I want to point out, Kalle is using the hand up system. Why don't you just speak up, Kalle? I think we're just it's sort of gang rules here.
Yeah, but I'm like an introvert Finn, so I'm afraid of talking over people. But in general, I think for us, we have had occasional RabbitMQ issues, and sometimes we were locked in a known good RabbitMQ version for a long time to avoid problems. We have had much less now. But the last thing I heard about this was that RabbitMQ is a bit abused by OpenStack. It's not great at fast creating and removing queues and scheduling queues. It should schedule messages and not queues. So if I understood correctly, there might be also OpenStack component reactions toward this to try a bit less ephemeral queues and try to use a bit more stable queues, which might help one of the major issues with RabbitMQ. But this is just hearsay so I haven't attended the upstream meetings on this.
Yeah, I've heard that before, that the way that RabbitMQ is used is not in line with RabbitMQ design goals. But for example, there was a proposal, not a proposal, but like a discussion about one operator had replaced it with 0MQ. But 0MQ is sort of fast and reliable, but it actually lacks some functionality that RabbitMQ is providing that people said is sort of in the service discovery area. So they basically had 0MQ, and they were like, that's great, this messages arrive and it doesn't crash. But then we have this other thing, and it seems like really like something that had been glued together with tape and chicken wire, honestly.
Is 0MQ still an option? Because I think even the driver on the slow messaging has been dropped.
I haven't heard any discussion of 0MQ for a long time. As I mentioned, that was probably Tokyo 2015 or something. So okay. long time. But I'm just saying that I think OpenStack does use RabbitMQ slightly wonky, but there are some features that it needs. And then if you swap it for a strict message queue, there's a gap. I will just put something here. I'm not going to change focus and look up a link right now, but something I haven't even looked at myself. We've launched
Is it based on RabbitMQ?
Is it based on what?
you said you launch a new open source thing, but it's based on what you wrote the code directly, or is it based on another software?
It's entirely open source, Bloomberg produced C++. So one problem that is definitely true of Rabbit is the internals are in unfamiliar language. I think it's Erlang.
Yeah.
So when it breaks, not just do you have the problem that it breaks, but it's like mysterious. Like, well, what is Erlang? Can you get stack dumps? Can you debug it? Like, who knows, right? I mean, I have no idea, right?
And you're writing this new BlazingMQ stuff because you want to get rid of RabbitMQ, or is it totally a separate project?
It's a totally separate project. So we use OpenStack. We use RabbitMQ inside our OpenStack. Very in line with the upstream defaults, and it's stable for us under medium scale, I guess, compared to some of the clusters in the community, and no plans to change it.
Okay.
There are other applications that actually run on top of our cloud that use message queues as well, and they use this message queue called BlazingMQ, which has now been open sourced, and it's apparently faster than C++. And I'm just reporting rumors, right? I haven't touched it. I'm just saying you could look it up right now. I'm not going to go look it up and look up the URL because I don't want to mess with my Jitsi layout right now. But I'll put the link here later.
Okay.
But I think Kala said that finding a good known version of RabbitMQ and sticking with that has been stable. I think the same for us. Like, as I mentioned, we had one that was memory leaking. An idle cluster would die over the weekend, right? But that's long past.
I also added a link. There was actually an Open Infra Paris. I didn't see the talk myself, but there was apparently a good talk on RabbitMQ there, and there's a YouTube link in the pad.
Yeah, it was my talk actually.
Yeah, okay, so, well, sorry.
No,
okay,
no problem.
At least.
Yeah, we did a lot on RabbitMQ side in order to improve the stability and the way it's used by OpenStack, but still we have issues, and we think that maybe we should get rid of this software because it's very painful to maintain. As you said, Chris, we are not used to manage Erlang at all. We don't know how to debug, and despite the fact that we are running the latest release, we still have very weird issues inside the cluster, and it's very painful. So, but I know that there is no alternative right now, but yeah, maybe it could be a nice starting point to try to focus on. Is there anything else upstream that other projects are using that could be used as a replacement for RabbitMQ? I remember that some people, I don't remember the name of the guy, but tested nats.io, which is something under the Cloud Native Foundation. Maybe that could also be a target that we could try. We have a lot of other options, but as of today, industrial messaging, it seems RabbitMQ is kind of the only one.
When we had a lot of problems earlier, we also tried Cupid, which was supported in very early versions of OpenStack, but jumping to another software made it worse because in general, I think at least Rabbit has somehow been tested at scale here. Many of the others might not have been tested at the same scale.
So one thing I didn't mention, but it's better late than never. When you're making these really great points, like other alternatives, and the thing that you just mentioned, Arno, if you can actually drop a note like reminding us what you said, like I recorded Cupid as one of the alternatives. I forgot what was the one that you said. Nats, right? Nats.io. I think one of the things that might be useful is just to get a comparison of features between any candidates. I mean, ZeroMQ apparently was removed. Someone's put the link there. That's great. But I'm sure it could be revitalized if it's now the best possible solution. Cupid, worse than Rabbit, was removed, but maybe it's moved on. We're not looking at other message queues right now because we've, I guess, given enough resources, or our configuration is reliable enough. But we are going to build bigger clusters next year, the year after. Maybe we'll get bit by Rabbit then. So, Arno, would you say you're like actively working on this, or is it just something that you're asking if the community has interest in?
So it's kind of a reaction based on an issue we had a few days ago on one of the cluster. It happened again and again. We have issues with a lot of clusters on a lot of RabbitMQ clusters on our productions, and we try. It's starting to be very painful for us. So we are thinking a lot on how to replace, how to change the way Oslo messaging is doing messaging within OpenStack. So we have two ideas. One is maybe we should try to focus on how OpenStack consume RabbitMQ. This is what we did so far. So we try to reduce the number of queues. We try to get rid of transient queues, eliminate the situation where we try to use RabbitMQ too much, or at least not the good way. This is the first thing we did, and we are thinking that we are maybe in a trap there. We don't know. The next step in that path would be to rewrite partially the way, for example, Neutron consume Oslo messaging, and it's kind of big challenge, which is not something we will go for, I believe. So the other path we were thinking about is maybe we should write a new driver inside Oslo messaging that could replace RabbitMQ with another software that would allow us to keep the communication system used by OpenStack like this, but based on another technology. We don't know yet which one, but for sure, this path we will try to dig into this path for sure.
Okay, great information. One thing that's confusing me is I think you mentioned, or someone mentioned, that the one proposal that people look at is HTTP driver, and that's surely a lower level technology than a message queue, right? Because HTTP is just a connection protocol, and Rabbit actually has this thing of disconnected messaging. It's store and forward, basically, right? It streams through an actual server that has queues, and when the writer is bursting, the reader can be slower for a while, right? Like HTTP has got nothing to say about queues, right? So could the person who put that, can they explain how HTTP is anything of a candidate?
I think it's based on the fact that even if you take a look at the RabbitMQ right now, you will see that most of the queues are having like 0 messages, because most of the time a server will send a client will send a message to a server, and the server will consume that message in like seconds. So based on that fact, the guy who wrote the HTTP driver rely on the fact that a request will receive an answer in any situation. I think this is the main idea at the beginning of the HTTP driver.
So it wouldn't be centralized.
There is no queuing anymore.
There's no fan out.
So the fan out mechanism is based on a new Oslo messaging process named Broadcaster, which is basically collecting all HTTP servers that needs to be informed about the new message coming, and it will send a lot of HTTP requests based on only one at the beginning. So there is a new broadcaster binary inside Oslo messaging.
Would this then mean also basically running HTTPD across all infra that goes to Rabbit, like all compute nodes and network and everywhere?
Yes, that's one of the pain points from this driver, is that it needs to open a lot of HTTP servers on every compute everywhere. And when I tested it, it was kind of weird, because the mechanism is you need to push inside the config file like a range of ports that gonna be used by the server, and the ports are going to be split across the services. So if you run Nova Compute and Neutron Agent on the same compute, they will split the port range. Each agent will have its own HTTP server basically. And then they register on a console service in order to make sure they are reachable, or at least this mechanism of exchange in RabbitMQ, it does not exist in HTTP, so they use console for that.
Is this a project, or is this just a discussion with some ideas? Like if there's a thing we could link to, it'd be good to capture.
Yeah,
here.
there is a thing. Let me. So it's not from my company. It's from I think it's from Line Corp in Japan. But let me paste Oslo messaging link about this. I have it somewhere. It's currently on review. Oslo
Okay,
messaging.
that's good info.
You should definitely take a look at this, because it's kind of a new way to establish communication. Yeah, here it is. So this is not only one commit, it's more than one. Let me paste it. Okay, this one here. I pasted it on line 46.
Got it. Okay. Interesting. I mean, we are not attached to RabbitMQ at all, but we also don't have problems with it, so it's kind of neutral on it. But I'll definitely take an interest in this.
Yeah.
I hope it doesn't have the property that it's very fast and reliable on small clusters, but has like a poor scaling factor. Like it's not n squared connections, is it? Everyone is connected to everyone. Because one of the things about our message bus is it's it's an intermediary, right?
Yeah. So for this on the HTTP side, I don't remember the details, but I think the broadcaster is connected to everyone, because it's the one which is doing the fan out, and then the agents are connected to. I don't know. I don't remember that part. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's a definitive solution. I'm saying that it's an example of a new driver that could be nice to have. But I'm also not very sure that this is a good architecture. But at least they are facing issues at scale with RabbitMQ as well, and they propose this the HTTP driver. It's definitely something we need to take a look at, and maybe we should also consider other solutions as well.
So I guess if your operation has problems with Rabbit, it's really in your interest to look at that proposal, and maybe also other proposals. I'm not aware of a proposal to use the Bloomberg thing. I'm not making such a proposal, but that message bus has been well received, I hear. So the one reason I keep mentioning it is it is in C++, which I can still sort of do. Erlang, I don't think I'm ever going to learn. So there is that. We also run Ceph, which is also in C++. So there's a little bit of synergy. We can say that some developers joining us should know C++. We've never asked for Erlang, so that is kind of a challenge in the language choice they use there. Although, as I say, we don't have a problem with Rabbit today ourselves at our scale.
Okay.
So that's everything on the agenda. Are there more topics that people want to bring in? Because we have 25 minutes or so left, and this is open. It's meant to be, as I said, it's sort of gang rules. It's not that I'm a presenter. I'm just trying to keep it moving and capture some of it on the Etherpad. There are topics that Ildiko mentioned, trying to catch me up on the sessions I missed. the fracturing of the communication methods and the forums is one of the challenges the operators community faces. Like, LinkedIn, for instance, I saw a discussion about live migration, and people with old information about OpenStack were saying, oh, I don't know if OpenStack does what we do with ESX, which is live migrate VMs without any service interruption. So I posted that we do that all day long. So if there isn't a topic from someone else, I'll talk about that a bit. We rely on live migration happening from automation all day long on all of our production clusters. So we do tens or hundreds or thousands of live migrations per day. We do it for hardware maintenance and for load balancing. I see someone starting to capture that topic. Thank you so much. And it's so good that actually every major subsystem of the Bloomberg terminal runs on these clusters that do live migration. And when a service process that's actually holding state for a Bloomberg terminal user is live migrated, they don't get disconnected. So they don't even notice. There might be a small bit of slowness, but no disconnections, no customer complaints, no tickets, no help desk, no escalation. What we're trying to do is drive the performance of live migration to new heights, because it's pretty great, right? So we actually are upstreaming some changes. There's some changes to the order operations, and our hypervisor is KVM on Linux, so that my comments here are specific to that. There are some changes to the order of operations that libvirt does that will make it better. There's some Linux configuration settings that we are just changing that will make it better. I'll get into those. And then there's some changes to our Neutron implementation, which is Calico, that will make it better. I know that Calico is niche, so I'll gloss over that in case people are interested. The order of operations thing, I don't remember the details, but we're upstreaming something there. The thing that I remember most clearly is the teardown phase of when a VM goes away is very expensive. We dug into it and found that VMs end up with thousands or millions of small 4K memory pages. They weren't getting the benefit of huge pages, which is a Linux feature where you get fewer but bigger pages, so 1 meg pages or bigger. And the problem for us was that kernel same page merging was breaking down all the huge pages into small pages to save memory. It's a great feature if you need to squeeze as many VMs as possible into hypervisors. We don't squeeze VMs into hypervisors. We allocate their flavor that much RAM, and that we don't overcommit. So KSM wasn't helping us. Turn that off. Transparent huge pages gives us far fewer entries in the page tables, and VMs move faster. So if that's of interest, I'm not the guy doing this, but we have a genius guy working on it, and what we're currently doing is trying to make it so seamless that applications that are literally contractually bound to have minimum disruptions, or we have to notify the regulator, will be getting onto our platform if we can solve that. So basically electronic trading with compliance applications need to go on our cloud because they need so much compute resources that we can't keep buying them dedicated physical machines. So that's like a key product development in our OpenStack that we're pretty excited about. So I see someone caught the details. By no means am I expecting that my explanation there is like useful. I'm trying to give a flavor so that if people want to talk about it, they can reach out. And I can even put you in touch with, details of what we're doing in detail. We are upstreaming what we can, but some of it is just how we configure our machines. And it does depend on your circumstances. Like you might need KSM desperately because you overcommit memory and you need them to share the common pages. So it is situational. Is anyone else working on live migration? Just after this meeting finishes, I'm going to go back to LinkedIn and see how that thread's going. I saw a comment from a vendor who's slightly misunderstood what I said and said, oh, you know, if you're doing that many migrations, we can help. I think he thought we were migrating from ESX to OpenStack. We do that a little bit, but ESX is now, I don't know, 5%, 2% of our OpenStack scale, so it's not really an issue.
I'd be very interested if he has anything written up on the tweaks that you're doing. We do in our current VMware vCloud environment, we do millions of live migrations a year. It's a very transient workload environment, and so things are coming up and down, and some things live for, you know, several hours, some things live for several months. So we're constantly rebalancing that cluster and using VMware's DRS, and that's one of the things we're looking into with OpenStack of the best way to, you know, achieve the best performance with their live migrations and then implement the DRS-ish functionality. So I'd be very interested in that.
Oh, great. I don't think we have a white paper ready to go that's been cleared for release, sort of published things, but we can have email conversations. I can definitely get a little bit more detail and just, so what I'll do, if you want to connect, I'm going to put my Gmail next to my attendee record here, at the top of today's agenda. Do you see that? That's my public email.
Yeah, that's great. I'll shoot you a message.
Let's connect.
Just a quick
question.
Would some of these topics be appropriate to maybe discuss in the Matrix channel, for example, or on OpenStack Discuss? Just it sounds like that maybe others could benefit from some of the things too, if you're keeping the conversation to the level that can be shared more publicly.
Probably. I still haven't actually got on Matrix, honestly, but that's just on me. I've been somewhat offline for various reasons, but digging out now. Absolutely. We are trying to upstream things, and also excited about the potential when you change configuration of basic Linux stuff like huge pages and kernel same page merging. So yeah, we could talk on the mailing list, but the person who said let's talk, was that Matt? We can do that as well. Yeah, Matt, we can talk privately on email, but I'm happy to also talk on the mailing list. That is going to enable almost the last workloads that could move to our cloud move to it. The only final challenge is there's still some code that runs on Spark Solaris and has big endian assumptions. That's a harder challenge that I'm not working on. Those guys have to port to Linux. That's the only way out for them.
Yes. On this topic, like online migration, we do a decent amount of block live migration because we have things that are more disk bound, like need faster disk, and we generally use Ceph for our central storage, but some need more IOPS, and we have local disk. The block migration in general has also gotten much better and works pretty much every time flawlessly. The only issue is currently the code path does some silly compression in the path, and it just slows down everything because it puts everything through all the data through compression, which doesn't really help on a fast network, and then decompresses, and we're CPU bound. Does anybody else do block migrations live?
Yes, we do a lot, and I think we disabled the compression, or we changed the compression algorithm in order to fix the issue you're explaining.
Is this an upstream patch already? Because I don't think it was configurable, and I don't think it was I didn't see it patched yet.
I think we do not have anything specific for this, but maybe I'm wrong. I think it's upstream. Like we rely on SSH for this, or libqmu plus SSH, something like this, and we change the algorithm for this. But maybe it's only downstream. Not sure. And it was like a term, yeah.
I maybe should have come clean and said that our live migration is all for VMs that are fortunately shared storage. Their storage is all on Ceph. So it's really just the memory copy and the routing changes that have to happen. And we're targeting a total disruption of a few seconds. And when I say disruption, I mean CPU throttling and then a brief period of network drop when the routing changes from the old hype to the new. Moving VMs with local storage, we will have to solve later. We did have local storage years ago, but we eliminated it. But we're going to have to go back there, as you say. The IOPS needs of some applications will demand it. So that is definitely a challenge, but I'm not currently doing that.
I don't think you have to be that worried. It works really well.
Oh, great to hear.
It's basically the same, but with a little bit more time to stream the disk alongside the memory. So
yeah, one thing I wanted to mention when I talk about ESX, I'm never dinging the technical quality of ESX. People ask me like, you think OpenStack's as good as ESX? I say, no, it saves us money. And they're like, well, why don't you just use ESX? And I say, have you seen the price rises, right? And Bloomberg still uses it for some essential workloads. So not a commercial software opponent, should we say? But we get our compute wholesale. We build data centers. We buy machines, fully assembled racks, right? Like, and then ESX has been very good for Bloomberg, and then they were bought out, and Dell, and then Public, and then Broadcom, and now the prices are a lot higher. I think these are all just facts, right? We have vMotion going on in our ESX clusters, and it is seamless. OpenStack, it's seamless for most of our workloads, but not the most challenging workloads so far. Okay, I'm gonna just keep talking because there's no more topics, unless there's more on the Rabbit thing or the live migration thing.
Actually, live migration. Other question. Like, we're still old school. We have to fix this, but we work on VXLAN and Linux Bridge. And now on large network, when we line migrate, our network data does not really get nicely upgraded always. And this is probably something in the like VXLAN ML2 propagation or something like that. Has anybody seen this, or are we just gonna wait to jump to OVN to get this fixed?
We have a custom neutron driver, so we are not affected by this.
And Bloomberg used Calico, I understand.
Yeah.
So
Yes. So I'll talk about that briefly. We did have a problem where live migrations appeared to be incredibly slow from a certain vantage point. And by that, I mean outside of a particular data center where the VM is living, maybe at a customer site, there was a network outage for tens of seconds. It turned out that routes were only propagating from the new data center fabric out to the legacy network very slowly. So we had to push through changes in the legacy network to get BGP route changes to be timely. That made a huge difference. The second thing is we use Calico as our distributed software-defined firewall. And we found that when a VM lands on a hypervisor that is currently empty, in other words, there's no VMs there before, policy load could take, again, tens of seconds or more. That problem we solved by having the vendor work with us. And there's now a hinting thing where you can use hints to tell it to leave the policy there. The issue is that we have policy that translates into thousands or tens of thousands of lines of rules for IP sets and IP tables. That itself is a problem that we're not proud of. It needs to be simplified. It needs to be fragmented, and needs to be, instead of global policy on every machine, it needs to be the policy that the machine needs. But we are working with Tigera, which is the Calico vendor, and they will obviously add these to the product, things to make live migration faster for the BGP propagation and for the loading of the firewall type rules. And then the remaining disruption that we see and we're working on is, as I mentioned, the memory copy. And we are making changes to Linux configuration because things like transparent huge pages are very helpful. But eventually you get down to, you need a very fast network to copy a very large VM, which is maybe dirtying the pages very fast. And our next deployment goes to dual 100 gigabit to the hypervisor. And then in the one after that, which is 2 years out, it doubles again. So we'll have, from my point of view, I've been networking quite a long time, insane amounts of bandwidth, so that even big fat VMs can be transported, even though if they're dirty memory pages very fast, in a reasonable amount of time. Although we don't allow VMs beyond 196 gig, I think currently, unless there's a super good reason. Generally, we don't allow 1 terabyte RAM VMs because they're just not very cloud-like. That's too much business risk if there's a problem with that one hypervisor. If an application has 2 1 terabyte VMs, that's not cloudy. So any more for live migration? And by the way, if anyone else wants to talk about what we are doing specifically, you're welcome to use my Gmail that I put there, or we'll try and kick off a thread on the mailing list. And yes, Ildiko, I will try and get on Matrix. Go ahead.
Always have more about live migration, so I'll just use this opportunity. Anybody of you have like Windows VMs that you are live migrating, and have you seen issues on that part?
We support Windows Server.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we talked over each other. Go ahead.
No, it was the saying that we are live migrating to Windows as well, and that works.
Yeah, in general we have worked, but sometimes, I don't know, it might be something silly, but on the actual VM side, we see some effects after the live migration that it doesn't work nicely. I would have to dig into like the exact problems, but I'm just wondering if this is something on our side or if it's something common.
We had some work to do to make Windows run well on OpenStack in general. One of the issues we found was that the team, so there's a separate team that administers Windows, for instance, they own product activation. They got an image to boot on OpenStack, but they didn't really know the platform, so they failed to tag the image in a way that tells KVM, hey, this is going to be Windows. So KVM has different defaults for Windows VMs that are very good, but you need to give it that clue. It doesn't grep the title and say, oh, I see Windows Server, I'm going to do the right thing. You have to tell it. You have to tag the image. If anyone needs that info, I'll be happy to dig that out and share it. But I haven't seen any special issues with live migration of Windows. So the answer is no, we haven't seen that.
Okay. But that might be actually something I have to check that our images are correctly marked for that.
Yes, so ping me on my Gmail if you need that, or bring it up on the mailing list, and I'll try and be better on the mailing list. Not to overshare, but I've gone through. My wife had spinal fusion surgery, and it was extremely tough recovery. So I've been kind of a bit out for a while, but she's doing well. So the only other topic I had in mind, if we needed to sort of find something else to talk about, is one of the things that the historic ops meetups always used to do is provide a safe place for people to say, hey, I'm running on an old...
Sorry, I didn't realize it was that loud. I was just trying to show support.
Thank you. We used to say, hey, is anyone running old versions of OpenStack? You can talk to us. You can admit it. I thought I would share that we are finally trying to shut down our OpenStack Mitaka clusters. And it was going to be this week. I was excited to mention, but now it's pushed to January or February. Yeah, we're mostly on OpenStack Caracal now, which is reasonably up to date, but we still have infrastructure running on Mitaka. Is anyone else shepherding really ancient OpenStacks, or is everyone up to date these days?
I can admit, a year ago we were still in train. Now we are actually soon in Sina and Yoga, so we are slowly catching up. But like by next year, I hope also we'll be in Caracal, and then it's easier to catch up. But yes.
You might say, why does it matter? If people are out of date, they need to catch up. Well, one of the things that the operators advocated for was, hey, OpenStack Foundation in those days, could you keep the docs around? Because what used to happen is once the release was deprecated, eventually the docs would get deleted. So we were running pre-Mitaka, and the documents for that, even on openstack.org/docs, whatever it is, or OpenInfra now, were just deleted. There was a technical reason for that, which was reasonable, which was the code and the JavaScript of the website were sort of commingled. So when they had security problems, they would have to change the JavaScript, and they didn't backport code fixes back to branches that were extremely old. So instead of having a security issue maybe with the website, they deleted the branches. And after everyone said, hey, it's just not cool, I'm running production OpenStack, and you've deleted the docs, they engineered a separation of that so the docs will live on. So Mitaka, which is our oldest one, still has the docs on the website, which I'm actually very proud of. One small thing that the operators community conveyed back to the development community. I realize that they're not completely separate communities. Hey, docs are really important. Could you keep them around, please? So I see some mentions of Train, Yoga, and Stein. Yes, I remember we had those releases.
And I think also like we were struggling a lot with the deprecation of CentOS 7 to rush to that we can actually get into a supported operating system which still gets security patches and still has an OpenStack version that is built for that. So these also come and bite you then if you are very behind.
Pierre, you may as well just speak up again. We're running out of time now.
On the topic of docs, one pain point I find related to what you just said is that quite often, like half of the time when you Google for something, it is an old version of the docs that show up. Like very often I end up on the Okata docs, which is not helpful because we are running fairly recent clouds. And I think it's been mentioned on the mailing list many times, but there hasn't been really a good solution. So while I do understand how keeping docs around is helpful for people, I would quite like if there was a solution that would encourage Google to always give you the latest docs.
I think it's
right.
I think it's an issue with indexing because the docs are there and Google indexes them. So if you force the search to go on the subdomain of the latest docs, it finds them. But yeah, I've had the same issue because we're running Caracal, and if you search on Google, then Mitaka, Train, etc. come up, and it's really, really old. Seriously.
That's probably a great tip on how to constrain the Google search results to the release. Maybe you could actually just, I don't know if there's, I actually don't know how to do that myself. Maybe I'm just not very good at Google. The old docs could be tagged with deprecated, and they could have banners on, so it would be really obvious. But I still think that it's better that you can get them than that they, so for them to be available, rather than you can't get them, but what you can get is always the most recent, because I think people who run large OpenStack clusters installations are never going to be on the most recent OpenStack uniformly. Some are. I think one of the big cloud operators in Europe is always on the latest bleeding edge, right? But we can't work that way, right? We have to test and verify, and we have to stage out changes, and we have 15 OpenStack clusters, so we're never going to be entirely on the latest thing. So we need the docs for the previous releases, and we are out of time. Thank you, everyone. Apologies for any unpreparedness here. Myself and Eric are volunteers, and I'm digging out of some situations, but we'll keep going. And I don't hear any objection to December 19th, so I think that's going to be the date we target. And if not, speak up on the mailing list, I would say.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, a lot for organizing this. It's my first time, but this is very nice to have.
Great, thank you. Thanks for the feedback. Ildiko is probably the biggest mover here, so we'll thank her. But we're glad you like it, and we'll keep going.
Thank you. Goodbye.